And as our teams come out onto the field, it's hello and welcome everyone to Grand Final Day 2023 in the SSFA Premier League. My name is Tony Dawson. It's great to have your company on behalf of Gymea for the biggest day of the season, the biggest day of the local amateur park domestic season. 3 great grand finals, 6 hours of coverage coming at you for the next little while on this Sunday afternoon in Sydney Town on your websites, shirefootball.com.au and shirepremierleague.com.au, and of course on demand you can watch any of these grand finals at any time you wish. Here is the bill for the next 6 hours. First up, it's the Reserve Grand Final. You can see the teams are out on the field. It's the Cronulla Seagulls taking on Gymea United. Then at around 1 p.m. Australian Eastern Time, it's the Women's Grand Final, where it's Bosco United taking on the Miranda Magpies. And then at 3 o'clock, the big one, the Men's Grand Final for 2023. It's Como Janelli taking on the Cronulla Seagulls. Of course, these pictures today coming to you courtesy of Gymea, www.gymmedia.com.au for your next live sports, live streaming, or any event, whether it be weddings, funerals, business meetings, annual general meetings, whatever. Contact Gymea at www.gymmedia.com.au. And of course, we thank our phalanx of sponsors that have been with us all year long and are with us again on Grand Final Day. Green Options, Deploy Football, and Sophie B Photography. Green Options, horticulturalists, landscapers and irrigation experts without peer. Multiple Gold Award winners at TLA level. Multiple Sydney and Melbourne Premier Cricket Curators of the Year. They look after some of Australia's premier grounds. HBF Park in Perth and Central Coast Stadium, Gosford, the home of the A-League champions, the Central Coast Mariners, but they can look after your front lawn, your backyard, your side footpath with just as much professionalism. Give them a call for a quote, 1300 647 367 or greenoptions.com.au. The ball you see in the centre, which is about to be kicked off by the Cronulla Seagulls in this Reserve Grade Grand Final, is provided by Deploy Football, proud sponsors of the SPL and the WSPL, as our referee gets us underway. Grand Final Day is underway for 2023 here at Seymour Shaw Park, the headquarters of football in the Shire. Deploy Football, only one of 2 Australian brands, the Envision brand that you're seeing right now out there in this match, and for the other 2 matches this afternoon in our coverage. One of only 2 Australian brands to get the FIFA Pro Mark seal of approval, but it's more than just about footballs. There's shirts, boots, shin pads, training hurdles, player bags, coach bags, hoodies, sweatshirts, track pants, and a heck of a lot more. It's not too early to get a quote for the 2024 season. There's the cross that comes in straight away from the free kick for the Seagulls, and it's taken away by Gymea, who are in their alternate strip today. Grey with green shorts, white socks. They're running from left to right. They are defending the boulevard end, the northern end of the ground, the clubhouse under construction end, in the scoreboard end in the first half. And the Seagulls, in their traditional, as minor premiers, they had the choice of first strip and first choice home strip, and they're wearing their green and white bars with white shorts running from right to left. They're defending the number 2 oval end of the ground in the first half. Yes, Deploy Football, they are providing the footballs for these grand finals today. It's not too early to get a quote for the 2024 season. 1800 384 327 and deployfootball.com. It's not too early to give them a quote for the 2024 season. And we also thank Sophie B Photography, proud local businesswoman since 2009, as the ball is turned over by Gymea United, and the Seagulls have possession again. Yes, Sophie B Photography, proud local businesswoman since 2009. For the personal touch for your next photo shoot, or the proper business approach for your next business shoot, whether it be an annual general meeting, headshots for board of directors and annual reports, weddings, functions. You can have Sophie B. Whilst Gymea there are taking the film, Sophie B can take the photographs. www.sophieb.com.au. It's not too late to join the 220 plus businesses, part of the Open for Business initiative that Sophie B started during the pandemic in 2020 and still continues today. You can also contact her at photo@sophieb.com.au. So it's the Seagulls and Gymea United just feeling each other out in the early exchanges of this Reserve Grade Grand Final. The two best sides in the Reserve Grade competition this season. The Seagulls finished the minor premiers, a clear-cut minor premier on 45 points. 8 points clear of Gymea United in second place, who finished on 37. But when you boil it down, there's not a lot between these two sides in particular. Gymea have been the only side to take points off the Seagulls in reserve grade all year. They defeated Gymea defeated the Seagulls 2-0 in round 9 back on June the 2nd at Karela, and managed a scoreless draw in the last regular season round on August 6th. They then butted up again in the major semi-final a week later, and that was a fortnight ago back at Karela, and the Seagulls edged out a 1-0 win thanks to a first half goal. So it's 1 win, 1 draw each in the 3 meetings between the two sides this season. Gymea will be confident that they can cause the minor upset in this decider. They had a tradesman-like performance, Gymea, to win the preliminary final over Lillipilly 2-0 last week at Karela to qualify for the big one. And hence, these two sides square off. It's going to be a free kick for Gymea United, as you can see, under perfectly fine skies. It's lobbed in towards the back post. Goalkeeper comes out there for the Seagulls in Adrian Aguilar, and in the end, copped a foul for his trouble. And so the free kick goes to the Seagulls, which is taken short out wide towards Tom Stretton, who's played a fair bit of the first grade football this season, back in reserve grade for the big one. And the Seagulls try and start from the back. Their squad name for this grand final, from the team sheet: Adrian Aguilar in goal. Andrew Banning, who's played a fair bit of first grade this season. Then you go back to Brendan Devlin, Ben Glannon, Jordan Harrington, Ryan Hay, Lachlan Howard, Jack Hughes, Thomas Makiewak, Braden Moon, Adam Peachy, Josh Russell, Tom Stretton, Dylan Tobar, and Caleb Russell's been named in the squad, but I would expect that he would start in the first grade grand final later in the day. Coached by Michael Harrington, as they work their way forward, the Seagulls, down the right-hand attacking channel. And then it's held up in the middle. That is Russell, who's starting this reserve grade grand final. Stretton now on the left, and goes back towards Josh Ritchie. Gymea setting up in a fairly deep defensive pattern. Stretton back to Ritchie again. There's not a lot of options. Ritchie tries the through ball, but it's been cut out there for Gymea. It falls to Josh Perrott, but the ball's not cleared just yet. There was a half opportunity there for Josh Ritchie, but the ball bounced away from him at the vital moment. And in the end, Makiewak has to go back to Aguilar in goal. The Gymea side, co-coached by Aaron Pettit and Gary Lockwood. Their side, Josh Patch in goal, and their squad for this grand final, this reserve grade grand final: Eric Joangi, Nathan Blake, Adam Dow, Ben Fraser, Jake George, Fletcher Graham, Jacob Lockwood, Jake Manning, Dan Nash, Josh Perrott, Reese Perry, Luke Ritchie, Carl Zanzari, Jordan Townsend, Dan Wall, and Joel Sutherland. Perfect conditions here, as you can see. Very few clouds in the sky. The forecast top temperature in Sydney today is 21 degrees. I suspect it might get a little warmer than that as the afternoon progresses. There is not a breath of wind out there, so conditions are going to be perhaps a little uncomfortable for players as the match goes on, as the heat becomes a little stronger above. Surface, of course, the artificial surface, in superb condition here at headquarters for grand final day, and the Seagulls try and work it forward. But Stretton can't keep that ball in play. He does win the throw, though, on this broadcast western side. There aren't too many options. Gymea are very quick to set up their defensive pattern, and so Stretton has to go back towards Ritchie. There's a little bit of work by Josh Perrott on Andrew Banning after Banning got rid of the football, so the free kick goes to the Seagulls, which is taken quickly. And here's Banning now. And the switch of play out to the right-hand side. Cross comes in. There's 3 shirts in the middle, and at the back post, Ben Glennon was there, got the header, And in the end, he wasn't too far wide. He was left almost unattended at the back post there, Ben Glennon. There were 3 green and white barred shirts in the middle waiting for the cross. And Glennon would be slightly disappointed with that. Would have thought he could have done better. Good crowd rolling into here, as you'd expect on Grand Final day. I'd expect there'll be quite a few more head in by the time we get to the big one at 3 o'clock, the men's Grand Final. There's a ball for Pellet to chase. It's knocked into the centre and cleared away for Gymea, who have already set up their defensive pattern. There's a long through ball who was looking for Joel Rutherford, but he's got 2 green and white shirts to deal with, Joel Rutherford. He's almost the lone striker up front at the moment. The ball goes out for a throw-in on that eastern side of the ground. So hopefully Rutherford can get some support from his support runners, but the way Gymea have started defending extremely deep inside their defensive third, he may have to do a lot of running on his own in the early exchanges. There's Rutherford now, again loses the ball in the face of a strong Seagulls challenge. Ball is won there by Brendan Devlin, but he turns it over. There's a long-range speculator coming in from Joangie, which bobbled all the way along the ground, but at least Joangie was happy to pull the trigger in the early exchanges. Wasn't any problems for Aguilar, though. Stretton now, and so both sides very cagey in the early exchanges, given that there's not a lot between these two sides. Between the two dominant sides in this reserve grade competition all year, that's going to be a fairly easy pick up for Josh Patch in the Gymea goal. But as mentioned, Gymea the only team to take points off the Seagulls in reserve grade all year, and they'll fancy themselves, particularly with what looks to be a fairly conservative style to try and catch the Seagulls on the break. Having set up very deep in their own defensive third, they win a throw on that eastern side as well. Hopefully we might, there's an outside chance we might get to speak to 1 or 2 players or officials as the afternoon progresses during this grand final coverage. There's another free kick for Gymea, working their way up the park in small 10 and 15 metre increments. Might be able to speak to a few people. It's an outside chance, though, on this grand final day. We have put a couple of feelers out there to a couple of the clubs and a couple of the officials to hopefully have a word with them at some stage during our 6-hour coverage on this grand final day. So Gymea starting to work their way slowly forward. Jake George there, but Reece Perry gives the football away. George is back there to win it, though, for Gymea. But the 1-2 with Perry doesn't quite work down that left-hand, very narrow left-hand corridor, and the ball goes out for a Seagulls throw-in. Free kick there against Perry, climbing over the back of his opponent. So the Seagulls will start with a free kick on halfway, or just on halfway. Maybe a couple of, or 5 metres their own defensive side. But once again, they're quite happy to try the slow build-up from the back. And it's Josh Ritchie now, trying to start something. Stretton down the left. And Joangie is there quickly in his face to concede the throw-in. There's a fresh air swing from Andrew Banning, which is unlike him. And now Rutherford's almost away. Had to be cut out by Ritchie in the last line to force the turnover. Ball won in the centre of the park, though, for Gymea by Daniel Nash. Nash tries to start something, but he turns the football over. Wouldn't surprise that there are a lot of nerves in these early exchanges, given what's at stake. Perry now for Gymea. Not a lot of room in the centre of the park to work with. Through ball attempted by Nash, but only finds the Cronulla defence. Worked away by Devlin. And that's worked off the side of the boot there. Good pressure from Rutherford on Tom Makiewak, who was forced to hoof it away and shank it off the side of the boot out for a throw-in, for a Gymea throw-in on that eastern side. So 12 minutes gone then in this reserve grade grand final. The start of Grand Final Day 2023 here on shirefootball.com.au and shirepremierleague.com.au. Great to have your company. Green Options scoreboard. Cronulla Seagulls 0. Gymea United 0. Stretton now for the Seagulls. Can start something down the left-hand corridor. Working with Ben Glennon. And Banning now. Glennon, the 1-2 attempted for Banning. And there's the foul given away by Ryan Hay up front. He sort of half gave himself up to, he knew that it was a slight nudge. There's a quiet, friendly word with the referee on the way past. But Ryan Hay knew that he'd given away the free kick. Of course, if you're in the Sydney metropolitan area, particularly in the Shire, you can do a heck of a lot worse than come down here to headquarters at Seymour Shaw. Number 1 for the Premier Day on the SSFA calendar. Headed away by Stretton from the free kick. Banning tries to hoof it forward. Banning tries to hoof it forward. And now Hay. Devlin under pressure, does well. He distributes out wide towards the right-hand side. Run from Jordan Harrington. Can't keep the ball in play, though. Goes out for another goal kick. It's given that both sides, in their 3 meetings this year, only once, one of those 3 meetings was a convincing win, but that was very early on in the season. Round 9. Of course, this is their 3rd meeting in 4 weeks, given they played in the last round of the regular season and the major semi-final. Attempting to burst forward is Blake, but he loses the football and Banning comes away now for the Seagulls. Harrington. And Josh Brown from the right back position. Hay. There's the first time shot from Lockie Howard. In the end, no problem for Josh Patch in the Gymea goal. But first time that Seagulls have managed to break clear of this very tight marking Gymea defence in these first 15 minutes. Fresh air swing. Makiawak is there. Only as far as Joangie. Eventually cleared by Stretton. Headed down to Banning. Banning back to Harrington. And there's a free kick for a little nudge after Josh Brown got rid of the football. So it's a free kick to the Seagulls deep in their defensive third. 15 minutes gone then. No score in this reserve grade grand final. The first of 3 this afternoon. Coming up later, of course, women's grand final at 1 o'clock. Bosco v the Miranda Magpies, and then the big one at 3. The rematch of the 2022 thrilling decider that went to penalties between Como Ginelli and the Cronulla Seagulls. The next chapter of the rivalry here this afternoon between arguably 2 of the best, if not the 2 best club sides in amateur park football in New South Wales, if not Australia. Stretton loses the football but wins the throw in front of us on the grandstand side, which he takes quickly back to Ritchie. And once again, the pattern is set. Banning in the middle of the park. Tries to get around his man. And studs were showing, according to the referee that time, in the challenge by Josh Perrott. Free kick to the Seagulls. It's taken quickly. Makiawak. Now Harrington. Again, has 2 grey shirts to deal with. And he turns the football over fairly softly. But works hard to at least make Gymea earn a throw on that eastern side. Now, of course, today being grand final day, the Russian roulette that is the penalty shootout does come into play under the local SSFA rules. So if scores are level at the end of 90 minutes, plus stoppages, we have 2 periods of 10 minutes each way, golden goal extra time. And if scores are still not level at the end of that extra, or still level, there's no breaking of the deadlock. Joangie, though, turns, wants to, there's the long range shot from Josh Perrott, which is well wide. Yes, if scores are level at the end of that extra time period, we then go to the dreaded penalty shootout, which was how the 2022 first grade decider was eventually finalised. Whilst it has its own drama, 99.5% of players and officials will tell you that's not the way they want to decide a premiership or a title. But it is there at our disposal this afternoon. Ritchie can't keep that ball in play. The pass was not well timed to Tom Stretton. It goes out for a Gymea throw on this broadcast side. Daniel Wall then, who's played a fair bit of first grade himself this season, there to take the throw in. But he doesn't have a lot of options. There's only two grey shirts making their way. There's a substitution that's come on now for Gymea, the first of the match. Luke Ritchie comes on. The throw looking for Rutherford, who's going to be the shagger, left like the shag on a rock for most of the day. The ball has gone out, though, off Stretton. So Gymea will get another throw in. But it's Joangie and Rutherford pretty much almost on their own up front at the moment, as Daniel Wall lines up to take another throw. Joangie, he's got Stretton to deal with, and Stretton concedes the throw. On this, again, broadcast touchline. Again, not too many grey shirts forward, only three of them. There's a fourth one half lurking. Gymea more than happy to play this defensive format. There's a little bit of inspection at the surface there, just quietly. Maybe a few bits of rubber have come up unsuspectingly. Joangie's been substituted then here. Surprise substitution. It's going to be Ben Fraser to come on for his first appearance in the grand final. And he immediately makes his way forward. There's now about 5 grey shirts for Wall to pick out from this long throw. It's headed away by towards Stretton, though, by Ritchie. Rutherford has 2 green and white shirts to deal with, and he can't beat the second of them, and it goes out for a goal kick. So, short goal kick taken by Aguilar, and Stretton can start again down this left. Some work there done by Ben Glennon. Turns the football over. No foul there against Ryan Hay. There's a turnover, and the Seagulls pick the football up. There's no big pardons in some of these challenges, but Banning tries to send the first time through ball for Ryan Hay. But Josh Patch has got that covered. As you'd expect in the grand final, there won't be too many big pardons in some of these challenges. Rutherford wins that ball from the goal kick, but Ritchie is there to clear it away and cops one for his trouble from Luke Ritchie on the way past, and so the free kick goes to the Seagulls. And another substitution now, this time for the Seagulls. It's going to be Jack Hughes to come on for his first touch, and these substitutions are going to be a key factor in this match this afternoon, given the warm conditions. Brendan Devlin comes off. He's feeling a little bit the worse for wear for one of those challenges in the last couple of exchanges. And Jack Hughes takes his place in the almost in the linking midfield position. So Lachlan Howard tries to start something for the Seagulls, turns the football over. Luke Ritchie. Now it's worked towards Fletcher Graham. He's played his share of first grade this season. Half shot on the semi-turn coming in there from Reece Perry. Didn't quite time it as well as he would have liked. Harmlessly goes over the byline for another goal kick. So we approach the halfway mark then of this first half of this Reserve Grade Grand Final. This SPL Reserve Grade Grand Final. Still, Cronulla Seagulls 0, Gymea United 0. Hay then. Won well by Daniel Nash in that defensive left-back position. Falls to Reece Perry. And now goes out wide to Ben Fraser. Pass not quite well timed enough. Daniel Wall was on the overlapping run. It was a good idea, just not quite the execution. The Seagulls throw. Stretton goes over the head of Hay. And in the last line, no big pardons from Nathan Blake, who's done a fair bit of defensive work already. Sees it out for the throw in. Another substitution for the Seagulls getting ready to come on shortly. It'll be Adam Peachy. Ball's turned over, and again it doesn't find Luke Rutherford. It goes straight to Joel Ritchie. They can start again, the Seagulls. Back to Makiowak. Harrington down the right. But challenge comes in well enough from Jake Manning to turn the football over. The through ball cut out though by Josh Ritchie, and it's turned over. Hay now. But Blake is there in the last line. Hacked away by Daniel Wall. Only as far as Banning. Banning, there's the first time shot. Not a bad one either from Lachlan Howard. Didn't quite expect that, Lachlan Howard, but he made the most of it. Got the shot away quickly on the half volley. But well over the crossbar. Double substitution now coming in. One for each side. Joangie back on the field after that short substitution. Or short break, I should say, and Adam Peachy comes on for the Seagulls. So Joangie on for Gymea. Adam Peachy for Cronulla. And there's a slight nudge against Tom Stretton on Ben Fraser. Free kick goes to Gymea. And a light bank of cloud briefly comes across the ground. You can see on your screens there. Gives some relief from the heat. Nathan Blake with the free kick, pumping it forward. Aiming at the back post. Aguilar was half caught off guard there, off balance. And the ball's taken a deflection for a corner. So Gymea have a corner then to work with from that southeastern corner of Seymour Shaw, number 1. This time they've got a few numbers forward. 6 grey shirts in the middle. Joangie with the corner. Aguilar comes out. Appeared to get fouled. No foul, says the referee. Goes out for a corner. Again, Josh Brown hacks it away. Well, Aguilar came out there before acceptances and didn't get the football. So another corner for Gymea. And this is their best period of the match this last 5 minutes. This time back to the far post. And it came off of Reece Perry last. And so it's a goal kick for the Seagulls, which is taken short to Banning. 25 minutes elapsed then in this first half of the Reserve Grade Grand Final. Lovely pass down the right-hand corridor. Harrington, there's the through ball. Hey! But Josh Patch read that well. Came out quickly and was quite quick to claim the ball as his. That's a hefty enough clearance, which is ping-ponged all the way back to his opposite number in Aguilar. So I say Josh Old, I should say. Stratton now. Stratton with 3 grey shirts around him. Can't find Adam Peachy on the return 1-2 and gives away the throw. Joangie. Once again, close checking, close marking. Not much being given away in the clinches here at the moment, as you'd expect, given that it is a grand final. Fraser, and wasn't given any time to do anything by Josh Ritchie that time. Quite happy to concede another throw. Fraser looking for options. He may just have to go on and hope for something, which he does, but Joangie surrounded by 4 green and white shirts. Not a lot there doing. Joangie has to hold it up because there's not too many options. Now Reece Perry. Perry tries to get the cross in, but sails over the byline for another goal kick, which will be taken by Josh Old. the reserve goalkeeper. Went a bit too far with Aguilar, the reserve for the reserve grade. But Josh Alders also spent time as the understudy this year to Ben Andrews in the Seagulls squad. Andrews, of course, will be seen in this afternoon's first grade grand final. No foul that time. Fraser came in fairly strongly on Tom Stretton, who wasn't impressed that there was no foul. He wins the throw, though. Peachy. And not for the first time, the 1-2 doesn't quite come off. Jack Hughes this time, the culprit. It's worked forward towards Rutherford now, this time for Gymea. Rutherford nudged in the back. No foul there. Referee says play on. No. Must have been a very slight whistle, which wasn't picked up here by the referee. It's a clear nudge. No doubt about it, though. The free kick was there against Josh Ritchie. So it will be Nathan Blake, who was going to take the free kick, but he's now left it for Reece Perry to pump it forward. And not too far. It does fall to Daniel Nash, though. He has to go back to Adam Dow. But in the end, all he does is find a green and white shirt down that left-hand corridor. Again, the defence very tight in the clenches. Gymea defending high up the pitch on this occasion, win the turnover. Joangie. Fraser. But again, Fraser, 3 green and white shirts. Loses the football out, and Stretton can start something to Banning. Banning the switch of play to Josh Brown. And now Harrington. Tries to get around his man with his pace down the left, but Blake's across there in cover. Throw's taken quickly, though. Banning continued the run forward. Tries to lob one looking for Ryan Hay, but it's fairly harmless. It goes over the crossbar. So once again, both sides quite content to just fend and spar like two heavyweight boxers in a sparring session at the moment. It's taken half an hour to feel each other out. There's been a couple of half chances so far, but there's not much between these two sides as expected. Stretton, and now he's got Peachy away down the left. Does well to keep the ball in play, but Ryan Hay was a bit too far away from that half pass, half attempt, and the ball again goes over the byline for a goal kick. Substitution now coming in for the Seagulls. It's going to be Brendan Devlin to come back into the fray for the last 15 minutes or so of this first half. That's how long we've got left. Our timepiece says that we've got half an hour in this reserve grade grand final. Still no score. Rutherford tries to knock it on towards Reece Perry. Ball almost falls for Rutherford that time. Still Rutherford has 2 to beat. Rutherford there, but Old comes out and makes the ball his. Well, that's hard work and endeavour from Joel Rutherford, who's been left as the lone striker up front in this formation this morning into this afternoon. And he almost came up with something there in heavy traffic. Here he is again, but the free kick goes against Perry. The Gymea supporters, you can hear, not happy with that refereeing decision. Brendan Devlin, the recipient of the free kick. Here he is now. And there's another free kick given against Gymea. This time Daniel Nash penalised for a little nudge on Banning on the way past. So Devlin takes the free kick to Josh Ritchie, and now Stretton. Dylan Tobar, who's just come on the field as well in that double substitution for his first touch. Back to Josh Ritchie. And now Brown. Banning. And Gymea very quick to defend deep inside their own defensive third. Quite happy to give the Seagulls half the field to start off with. Banning. Again, not too many options, but he does find Harrington down the right. Harrington gets the cross in looking for Hay. And in the end, there were no chances taken by Joangie. Happy to concede the corner. So it's the first Seagulls corner of this grand final, this reserve grade grand final. And they take it short to Stretton. Stretton, Ritchie, Tobar, the header from Ryan Hay, and Josh Patch fairly comfortably takes that. So both sides, as mentioned, just restricted to some half chances so far. We haven't had a real clear-cut shot on goal. There have been a number of attempts which have gone wide. Tobar now for the Seagulls. He's got Fraser for company, and Fraser concedes the throw. The heat will also be a factor. Both sides, particularly if this match does go into overtime, may be wary of that. Fraser can't control that defensive header. There's a bit of pushing and shoving work by Tobar there, which goes unchecked, and the ball goes out for a Cronulla Seagulls throw. It's taken by Tobar quickly. And Jake Manning was quite happy to see that out over the grandstand. So Stretton again with the throw. Banning has hopped back from his central defensive position to try and start something. Josh Ritchie gets around 1 and 2. Hay, closely marked. Back to Ritchie. Switch of play cut out by Fraser. Tobar has to go back to Stratton. Not too many ways through this Gymea grey defensive wall at the moment. But still early days. You suspect that the heat may have a factor in opening this game up as we go deeper into the contest. But for now, the Seagulls have to retreat and go back to Brown to try and start again to break this grey Gymea defensive wall down. Banning tries to pump a long ball forward, but he only finds Joe Angie. Turnover, though, finds Stretton. Hay. And now Tobar does well to keep the ball in play. Stretton has to go back to Josh Ritchie and back to Tobar. There's Gymea defence standing firm at the moment. Old has to pump it forward and hope for something. Joangie and Hay. Hay has the last touch, can't keep the ball in play. It goes out for another goal kick. Another substitution is due for both sides now. This will be the order of the day, given that the heat will be a factor by the looks of things. Perhaps both coaches have been resigned already to the fact that this might go into extras. There's a double substitution for Gymea right now. Jake George comes into the fray. This does Jordan Townsend. Petch with the goal kick. Rutherford's there, but so too is Josh Ritchie. Falls to Peachy, who has Adam Dow to deal with there on that eastern side. Blake just pumps it forward. There's no one there. Joel Rutherford can't be everywhere for Gymea. It's a fairly tame through ball forward. It's turned over. Free kick to Gymea. Perhaps advantage might have been played there. Luke Ritchie was almost off there through the middle of the park. The referee saw no advantage. Substitution for the Seagulls now. Lachlan Howard back into the fray. Blake with the free kick there for Gymea. Pumping forward, headed away by Stretton. Joangie trying to find Townsend, but can't find his man, and the ball goes out for a throw-in. Which will be taken quickly by Stratton. Tobar there. Stratton tries to pump it forward. Hay has come a long way up the park to try and get the football, but he's dispossessed by Joangie. Townsend gets the first time crossing, not a bad one either, but Old comes out and makes the ball his. But it doesn't take long for Gymea to get their high press going. Banning for the Seagulls. There's a turnover, a fairly soft one, which in turn is returned in kind almost by Townsend, and the ball goes out though for a throw in on this broadcast grandstand side. 38 minutes gone then on an unofficial timepiece. Still, the deadlock not broken in this reserve grade grand final. Townsend. Tobar now for the Seagulls, can perhaps start something. Ryan Hay. Can't quite get the 1-2 pass going and gives away a free kick for that fairly clumsy challenge on Jake Manning. So both sides just perhaps now quite happy to be content to wait for the mistake, wait for the counter or wait for the heat to open things up in the second half. Blake takes this free kick for Gymea, pumps it forward looking for Rutherford, but he's been dealt with by Stretton to Tobar. Dylan Tobar does well to keep it in play. And unfortunately, not for the first time, pass from Lachlan Howard doesn't find his mark. Doesn't find Tom Stretton, gives away the throw. Joangie takes it quickly. Rutherford beaten out by Stretton. Josh Ritchie there at the back. Tries to pump it forward, but Blake is there and does well to win the ball in the clinches for Gymea, and it's turned over. Jake George now. Rutherford, again given a fairly hefty task. George wins it back though and wins the free kick. So here's an opportunity then for Gymea to perhaps pump another long ball forward as we draw towards the last 5 minutes of this first half. Of course, stoppage time is being played in all games this afternoon at the end of each half. And so it's Gymea with another set piece to try and work something against this fairly tight Cronulla defence. It's fair to say that both defences have won out so far in this contest. Jake George then with the free kick. 6 grey shirts to aim at in the 18-yard box. George. Old comes out and makes it his fairly comfortably. Fairly poor free kick, it has to be said. Didn't really find a target except the Cronulla goalkeeper. So it's Brown then to start things again for the green and whites. Well, today's green and whites at least anyway. Gymea, of course, also wear green and white, but as the number 2 ranked side of playing in their away strip in this grand final. Tobar for the Seagulls. A little nudge in the back by Joangie. No free kick. It's a Gymea throw. Tobar's not impressed with the decision. Has to get on with it quickly because Joangie's got the throw in quickly. Wins the ball back though, Dylan Tobar. Only as far as Joangie. Blake just pumps it forward looking for Jake George down that left. But he's tangling with Josh Brown. Wins out though, Jake George. He's only got 3 grey shirts in the middle to work with Jake George. He's been taken into that corner by Brown. Keeping the ball in play though. And Brown wins down, almost wins out. There's some help coming for George though. Reece Perry's there to help out. Wins the corner. So it's a game of almost contest by contest at the moment. 50-50 ball to 50-50 ball, as you can see. Smattering of spectators making their way towards the eastern side, which gives you an indication that there's a very good sized crowd already having built up here at Seymour Shaw, with the promise of a few more people to come in as the day progresses. George with the corner. Old is caught flat-footed out there, cleared off the line in the last line by Stretton. Danger's not quite cleared though. Jake Manning tries a long one, fumbled by Old. Rutherford is there, no foul, play on. Rutherford goes down, no penalty. Referee keeps the whistle in the pocket. Banning cops one though on the way past, and Rutherford gives away the free kick. Well, that was an interesting half chance there for Gymea that time. Josh Old came out to meet that corner and ended up caught in no man's land there as He felt a nudge from Rutherford. He looked to the referee for a whistle, for a foul, and none was forthcoming. And Rutherford had a fleeting split second there where he could have made something of it. Tobar, though, for the Seagulls. Turns the football over. Joangie. And poor old Joel Rutherford, on his own, up front again. Has to do a mile of running. And Richie is quite happy to go back to old to start again with Brown. Inside the last 2 minutes of this first half on our watch, there will be stoppage time, but not a lot of it, maybe no more than a minute at the end of this first half. And once again, Gymea playing for the turnover in the centre of the park. They almost got it, but it now falls towards Harrington, who lobs one forward. Ball bounces, looking for Tobar. Tobar with the bicycle kick, headed away by Blake. Banning couldn't quite get the first time shot in because Reece Perry came into cover in the last line. Clear it out for a throw in. So it's going to be, Tobar was almost aiming for the long throw but didn't quite pull the trigger. Gets the ball back on the 1-2 from Banning. Banning again though. There's the foul. Fletcher Graham, the man penalised for that challenge on Andy Banning. So here's an opportunity for the Seagulls in the last throws of the first half to get a free kick into an attacking area. They've only got 5 green and white shirts to aim at for Tom Stretton. 6th one is lingering on the edge of the 18-yard box. There's the free kick. Punched away by Petch and only bounces over the byline for another corner. So in the last 60 seconds of this first half, Seagulls may come up with something here from this another set piece. Headed by Hay. Petch comes in and makes it his in the face of Banning. That pretty much encapsulates how this first half has gone. There is no stoppage time. The referee has said that is enough right on the 45 minutes. And so we reach half-time in the first of our grand finals on SPL Grand Final Day 2023. And as the form guide suggested, there's not a lot between these two sides. Both teams quite happy to play the counter-punch and play the fending off and play with very, very tight defences, which have won out and have restricted both forward lines to a few half chances. There was a late incident in the first half when Josh Old came out, and there was a fleeting moment for Joel Rutherford to work with. But both defences have cancelled each other out in this first 45 minutes, and there's all to play for at half-time in this reserve grade grand final, the first of 3 grand finals on the premier day of the SPL calendar on this Sunday, now approaching Sunday afternoon in the Shire here at Seymour Shaw Park. Half-time in the reserve grade grand final. We're still stuck with a deadlock of Cronulla Seagulls 0, Gymea United 0. And both sides are back on the field. We welcome you back for the second half of this Reserve Grade Grand Final between Gymea United and the Cronulla Seagulls. The deadlock still remains. It is still Cronulla Seagulls 0, Gymea United 0. We do it all, of course, for our great phalanx of sponsors, without whom we wouldn't have been able to give you this coverage all year. Green Options, Deploy Football and Sophie B Photography. Second half is underway and Gymea are in the grey away strip with green shorts, white socks, running from right to left, defending the Seymour Shaw number 2 oval ground in the second half, or the southern end, and the Cronulla Seagulls in their traditional green and white bars, running from left to right, defending the scoreboard or boulevard end of the ground in the second 45 minutes. And it was a half chance for Jake George down the left, but it was quickly snuffed out at the start of the second half. And here go the Seagulls. Fabio Carvalho has been injected into the play at half-time by coach Michael Harrington. So that's a sign that the Seagulls perhaps want to try and open this game up a little bit. There's a fresh air swing from Blake, and Ryan Hay is away. But only as far as Jake Manning, who was there to cut it out. It's unlike Nathan Blake to have a fresh air swings like that. He's normally very safe in that back third. Ball goes out for a throw-in for Gymea United on this broadcast side. Yes, Green Options, horticulturists, landscapers of renown. Multiple Gold Award winners at TLA level, multiple Curators of the Year in Sydney and Melbourne grade cricket. They also look after HBF Park in Perth and Central Coast Stadium Gosford, the home of the Central Coast Mariners, the A-League champions of Australia. They can look after your front lawn, your backyard, side footpath with just as much efficiency and professionalism. 1300 647 367 or greenoptions.com.au is the website. Major sponsors of the SPL and of our live streaming broadcasts all season long, and we thank them for their help. Throw in for Gymea United. Joe Angie, who switched to the left-hand side for the start of this second half. Tries to pump one forward, but it's turned over straight to Hay. And now Carvalho in the centre of the park for the Seagulls. Does fall towards Lockie Howard, who finds Harrington. But he can't find his target with the through ball. There's another turnover. There's some solid contact there. No foul. Maybe the referee's playing advantage to Hay. Harrington. Blake is there in the last line. And now the referee's going to go across. There was some solid contact there that Brendan Devlin ended up on the receiving end of. On the way past, there was no free kick. He's not 100% there, Brendan Devlin, at the moment. And he's in some trouble. Perhaps on another day, another referee might have blown the whistle there for the free kick. There certainly was some contact, and Devlin has come off the worst for wear, and it looks like he may have to come off the field and be replaced by Adam Peachy almost immediately. He's not happy at all, Brendan Devlin, at the moment. May have copped that stinger, and he's been replaced by Peachy. Throw in then for the Seagulls, taken by Harrington. Hay and Blake tangle, and Blake concedes the throw. Of course, we do remind you we're at the start of the 6-hour marathon of coverage here this afternoon. It's now gone past midday Australian Eastern Time. So we have a women's and major men's grand final to follow after this match. The Miranda Magpies taking on Bosco in the women's grand final. And then the big one at 3 o'clock, the men's grand final. Como Ginelli versus the Cronulla Seagulls, the rematch of 2022. For now, though, it's a Seagulls corner that Harrington takes. And Hay got up there uncontested, a free header, almost on the edge of the 6-yard area. And unfortunately, he couldn't make the most of that free header. And given that the chances have been at a premium so far in this contest, that might be something he might regret later. But certainly both defences have won out so far in this contest, in this reserve grade grand final. Of course, we do thank Deploy Football, who their envisioned brand is what you see right now in this match and what you'll see for the rest of this afternoon in the grand finals to follow. One of only 2 Australian brands to have the FIFA ProMark seal of approval, but it is more than just about footballs at Deploy Football. It is about boots, playing kit, training hurdles, hoodies, sweatshirts, track pants, shin pads, and a lot more. Playing kit, a lot more. It's not too early to start doing your sums and getting your kit sorted out for the 2024 season at Deploy Football. 1800 384 327 or deployfootball.com. And we thank them for their support of providing all the footballs and their great sponsorship of the SPL. There's a superb shot on the turn from Fabio Cavallo, turned over the bar by Josh Petch, and that's what Fabio Cavallo brings to the middle of the park, that little touch of class. It's a surprise that he's been brought in this early in this reserve grade fixture, given that he is in the first grade squad for the later decider this afternoon. But he needed half an inch of space to turn on the dime and get the shot away, and Josh Petch had to turn it over the bar for the corner. Harrington takes it short. It's headed away, but only as far as Ritchie. Tries the shot on the turn. And it's not too far wide. So the first 2 real, almost clear-cut chances of this contest. Certainly the Fabio Carvalho shot, the first real shot on goal in anger in this reserve grade grand final. So Petch then with the goal kick. And the crowd building up appreciably now here at Seymour Shaw Park. You can see that there are quite a few spectators having already made their way to the eastern side. Into the sunshine. There's these gorgeous conditions that have welcomed us on grand final day. Blake clears the lines towards Peachy. Joangie for Gymea. Back to Blake. And Jake George. Through the middle they come. That's a nice through ball for Luke Ritchie, but he turns it over in close quarters. Carvalho is there. And Fabio Carvalho turns it back. Back to his goalkeeper in Josh Old. Makiawak. Banning. Tended to in close quarters by Fletcher Graham. And it goes back towards Josh Old. Josh Ritchie. That ball is again worked down in the middle of the park. Again back to Josh Old. Not too many spare seats in this grandstand right now here at Seymour Shaw. So if you are coming down here, if you're in the Sydney metropolitan area and in the Shire in particular, and you want to make your way out here to Seymour Shaw this afternoon, you better get here quickly if you want a decent view. In the meantime, though, it's Josh Manning for Gymea trying to start something. And now Reece Perry down the right. And in the end, can't keep the ball in play. It's well shepherded over the byline for a Cronulla Seagulls goal kick. So now the Gymea looking to make a substitution early in this second half. Ben Fraser looking possibly to come back on. He's been sent back to the bench though by Aaron Pettit, the co-coach of the Gymea. Seagulls can try and start something again. There's a foul against Reece Perry down that eastern touchline. Free kick for the Seagulls. It's pumped forward. In the end, Harrington was there alongside Blake. And the ball goes over the touchline for a throw-in. A Seagulls throw-in. Adam Peachy across to take the throw. Maybe looking for the long one here. No, he goes backwards, try and open up the angle. Cross comes in, Blake comes out to Rutherford. Rutherford now showed a bit too much of that to Josh Ritchie. Turns the football over and it falls to Harrington. Back in the defensive line for the Seagulls. But he looks up and he finds that Gymea have got their formation quickly. But he replies with a lovely through ball. Looking for Peachy. The cross comes in. There's a possible handball there just quietly from Josh Brown, who came up from deep. No handball free kick from the referee that time, but there may have been a hint of the arm used by Josh Brown on that occasion. But he did make his way quite nicely towards that back post. From that Ben Glennon cross. So, again, another half chance for Gymea at the start of this second half. Perry with the throw, but that goes over everyone's head. But through persistence, it's been won up there by Nash, but he can't keep the ball in play, and it goes out for another Cronulla Seagulls throw. And so once again, we go back to as you were, with both midfields and both defences cancelling each other out, as has been the case for most of this first 56 minutes of this grand final so far. So 11 minutes gone in this second half. No score still. The deadlock remains on the green option scoreboard. Still Cronulla Seagulls 0, Gymea United 0. That ball bounces over Blake's head. And Joangie is there, trying to make his presence felt. But Harrington wins the ball out. Goes back to Josh Brown, and now Banning. But he has to retreat, go back to Josh Ritchie to start again. Gymea very compact in their defensive third, defending very deep. Glennon. Not many options, so Glennon has to go all the way back to Josh Old. And the stalemate remains the status quo for now. Makiewak. Peachy. This will suit Gymea right down to the ground here. They're more than happy to play on the counter. Makiewak. Headed down by Joangie as far as Harrington. Tries to lob it up towards Lachlan Howard. Howard rides the challenge. Back to Brown, gets the cross in. And it's headed away only as far as the shot from Adam Peachy, which was well wide, but well worth the attempt. So that's the slow build-up that the Seagulls have been forced to go through to try and make something here. More substitutions now coming on for both sides. Finally, Joel Rutherford gets a break. He's worked himself into the ground in this first hour of play. Fletcher Graham also getting a breather. And it's Josh Perrott and Ben Fraser back on for Gymea. And good to see that Brendan Devlin looks like he'll be getting back on the field. He's made his way back towards the touchline after taking that knock. Through ball has been blocked out by Blake that time for Gymea. Jake George. Carvalho was there. George. No big part in some of the 50-50 body clashes there. Makiewak sees the ball go out of him for a throw to Gymea on this broadcast Western touchline. It'll be Joangie to take the throw. Perry has retreated back. He's going to go back to Jake Manny to try and pump it forward, but there's not a lot there. Peachy tries to head it forward. Falls to Perry now. Perry for Gymea. Maybe something, some sort of individual brilliance. The clearance eventually finds Harrington, who tries to pump it forward. There's looked to be some shirt pulling there by Hay on Luke Manning and vice versa. The goalkeeper, Petch, had to come out and clear it away. Only as far as Joangie, who sees the ball out for a Gymea throw. So both sides wouldn't say resigned to, but certainly having to try and make the most of very few half chances at the moment. Both defences have won out, as Makuak did that time to concede the throw. So we've reached the hour mark in this grand final. And still, Cronulla Seagulls 0, Gymea United 0 on the green options scoreboard. The 1-2 didn't quite work with Jake George and Reece Perry that time. It goes out for another throw-in on this broadcast western side in that northwestern corner. And then Peachy tries to hit it forward. Harrington, Ryan Hay, back to Harrington. Again, the long ball forward looking for Carvalho, who had crept into an offside position. Flag went up fairly quickly. Carvalho half knew it as well. He gave himself up as soon as the flag went up. But that's a bit more like it for the Seagulls to try and beat this very compact Gymea defence. Headed down by Perry, is eventually hacked away out by Josh Brown for another throw. So, timepiece shows that we've reached the hour mark exactly in this grand final. This reserve grade grand final, the first of 3 on the bill this afternoon, here from Seymour Shaw Park, the headquarters of the World Game in the Shire. No score still. Throw in taken short, and it back to Joe Angie, who's had to do a lot of tidying up work so far in the contest. Jake George tries to get around his man. Luke Ritchie tries to get the cross in, but eventually all he does is find the byline, and it's another goal kick. Just taken short, and Ben Glennon can try and start something down that eastern side in front of a building crowd in those eastern terraces. There's a ball for Fabian Carvalho. Carvalho gets the cross in, and in the end, Josh Petch had to make the ball his. It was fairly comfortable. Harrington was there in the middle, but was never going to get that cross from Fabio Carvalho. Reece Perry there, loses out, and Banning tries to come away. Perry. Howard, Lachlan Howard. He's got Harrington down the right. Tries to get the through ball in the middle. It's headed away. It's not cleared. Not out of danger yet. And still not cleared to Carvalho. Back to Howard. Howard looking for Harrington again. Harrington and Joe Angie. That's been a battle royal on this flank so far. This time Joe Angie wins out. But Harrington comes back again and wins the throw. So another substitution in the offing shortly. Tom Stretton to come back on the field for the Seagulls. And he makes his way back into his traditional left-back position. And Ben Glennon goes back to the right-back position. Peachy with the long throw. Ryan Hay with the header on. There's the chance, the fumble, and hacked away off the line. Well, that's the set piece that was well worked. Hay got in with the header. Howard got in there with the first-time shot. It was fumbled in the last line by Josh Petch. And Manning had to hack it away for the corner. So the Seagulls working up to something possibly here with this corner. 6 green and white shirts in the middle. Headed down to Harrington. Chips it forward. Joe Angie's back there to clear it away, but only as far as Harrington again. And no big pardons there. Josh Perrott clears it away, and that clearance straight into the grandstand has unfortunately may have found a fairly young spectator there, which has not been taken too well by some of the spectators. But play goes on, and the ball goes out for another throw-in
Joangie. We can tell you what it's like at close quarters when those hefty clearances, when in doubt, hack it out, take place this season. We've copped our share physically, and our infrastructure's copped a bit of it as well during the season, but it's part and parcel of the game at this level. Blake tries to clear it away, but Ben Glennon has taken care of that one and has seen it out for another throw. So we've passed the midway point of the second half. We're inside the... still no change and no break to the deadlock. Another substitution, this time for Gymea. And the very popular Adam Dow makes his way back on the field for the last 20-odd minutes of regulation. You can say that now because it's fair to say that the first goal may very well be the only and decisive goal of this contest. Blake tries to pump it forward to Jake George. Glennon there is in the face of Reece Perry to see that ball out for another throw-in on this broadcast side. George. 3 green and white shirts there in close attendance, and the ball falls to Ryan Hay. Maybe there's a break on here. But that pass only finds Josh Pettit, who just is happy to hack it forward. And cleared away by Brown. It's not pretty stuff out there at the moment, but that's what you'd expect in a grand final, given what's at stake and given how closely matched these two sides are. It's perhaps presumptuous to think about what may follow here. Ryan Hay in the centre. Pettit is there to dispossess him. Blake pumps it forward, and there's no one running onto that at all, given the heat that we now have. It's been sitting on 21 degrees. It's quite pleasant if you're watching, but you can work up a bit of a sweat playing in this heat, especially when you've been playing in cooler temperatures for the last 3.5 months. But that's the beauty of playing at this time of the year into spring, the start of spring, with the temperatures getting warmer, the days getting longer, the stakes get higher. Blake wins another header, almost unbeatable in the air, and concedes another throw. Yes, exactly halfway through the second half now. 22.5 minutes gone on our timepiece. And as mentioned earlier, scores are level at full time. We go into extra time for 2 periods of 10 minutes each way. Golden goal. Headed down by Jake Manning, but the danger's not cleared. Pettit is there though. And Luke Ritchie can try and clear it away now. Joangie, who switched to the right back position. Perry and Pettit. That ball ricocheted off the forearm of Devlin, who's now back on the ground after taking that knock earlier. George showed a bit too much of that to Harrington that time. And there's close checking and close marking. Shows no sign of abating at the moment. Another substitution. Harrington comes off to get a breather, and Andy Banning comes back on. I suspect some of these substitutions may now be done with a view to extra time. Still a long way to go yet, though. Pettit in the centre of the park. Ritchie gets bundled over unceremoniously from behind, and that's the first yellow card. Brendan Devlin, who copped one himself, perhaps returned the favour that time for what he copped in the first half. But that was right in front of the referee, and his name is the first to go in the book on grand final day for that challenge. It's all shakes and smiles afterwards. Luke Ritchie's up to his feet, shakes hands with Devlin and says, well, you got me there. Consider it level. Blake with the free kick, pumps it forward, but it's headed away. Pettit there, very happy to throw the shoulder in. No foul that time. Blake, although There's now a second foul given away, not by Pettit, but by Reece Perry for an off-the-ball incident as the ball was being cleared. But certainly Josh Pettit not picking any pardons that time. Substitution for the Seagulls. Peachy comes off. And Braden Moon gets his first taste, the youngster, of grand final day, in the true right-back position. And he may spend a little longer than perhaps the 20 minutes that are left in regulation in this contest in that right-back position. Still, Cronulla Seagulls 0, Gymea United 0 in this reserve grade grand final. Braden Moon, his first touch is a Shaw one. Goes back to Makiewak. And now Ryan Hay has had to go a long way up the park to get a touch of the football, particularly in this second half. Devlin almost turns it over. And in the end, the pressure from Ben Fraser was too much and won the throw. Here's Fraser now. Gets a nice through ball. And in the end, Reece Perry wins the throw. Couldn't get the cross in, but he got the next best result. Gets the throw in on that northeastern corner. And as we draw to the last 20 minutes of regulation in this grand final, this reserve grade grand final, perhaps one of these options, one of these set pieces can come up with something here. This time it's Gymea who have 6 grey shirts forward. Oh, punches it away with 2 fists, but punches it straight back over the byline for another corner. And you just get the feeling amongst this good-sized crowd already here at Seymour Shaw that they're just on the edge of their seats waiting for something to happen here. Another corner for Gymea. Old comes out. This time he takes it in 2 hands. Wasn't taking any chances with the 2-handed punch that time. And in the end, the clearance not well read. Braden Moon has to come across and make a timely challenge, but turns the football over. And Gymea can work it forward through Josh George. Perry can't pull the trigger. Back to Pettit. Fraser. Back to Pettit. Now Gymea forced back by the close checking Cronulla defence, and it's hacked away. Goes back to Jake Manning in the last line. Pettit tries the 1-2 ball, but again it's cut out by Carvalho doing some defensive work for the Seagulls. Who's happy to go back to Josh Old. Moon. And Makiewak. And now Josh Ritchie. Hay. 1-2 working with Howard. But Tom Stretton couldn't make his way forward that time. The ball's turned over. That's not the best of passes, though. Devlin tries to win the ball back, but can't. And it goes back to Blake. He tries to pump it forward. Makiewak gets into the back of Reece Perry, but there's no foul. Wins the ball back and just hacks it forward. And as far as Nathan Blake, Braden Moon tries to control it, but he only finds Perry and Josh George. Ball in the centre, looking for Luke Ritchie. Pettit. Turnover, no handball. There was a claim of handball, but the referee waved it away. Ben Glennon now continues down this right. But Nathan Blake, not for the first time today, comes across and makes the ball his and concedes another throw. We draw towards the last 15 minutes on our watch of regulation. Substitution coming in, and it's going to be Joel Rutherford, the workaholic up front, taking the place of Ben Fraser, and Rutherford can look forward to another long stint of hard running and hard chasing of the ball in that front position. In these closing stages, there's the header on, not cleared. Pettit, only as far as Howard can try the shot, which is blocked by Ritchie in the last line of defence. And Ritchie continues to try and turn the football over in the centre of the park, but it only goes as far as Makuak. And Moon. Braden Moon does well. Devlin. Carvalho. Turnover to Jake Ritchie. And Gymea can start again, and that's been the story of the day. Another turnover again here. Ryan Hay couldn't quite connect his pass that time. Jake George for Gymea. Dow, and now Blake. And he has to go back to Josh Patch. And once again, the defence wins out. Patch's clearance, well kept in play by Parry, and now Ritchie. There's a ball for Parry to chase, and it can't be kept in, though. Crosses the byline and goes over for another goal kick. Inside the final 15 minutes, another substitution for the Seagulls this time. Harrington to come back. And it's going to be Lachlan Howard to come off. One suspects that it might not be the last that we see of Lachlan Howard this afternoon, given the possibility of extra time, which is now looming large. Blake tangles with his defensive teammate in Dow, and luckily for him, Ryan Hay can't keep the ball in play. It goes out for another throw-in. George wins the throw. So Gymea working their way up this western touchline. Rutherford can catch up with this one on this occasion, Joe Rutherford. Rutherford, again, has two shirts to do with. Rutherford gets it away, gets the shot in. And in the end, Josh Old had to just parry it down, but that's the danger of Joel Rutherford. Carvalho tries a through ball, which almost comes off the referee. In fact, it did. So it'll be a drop ball in the centre of the park for that Fabio Carvalho through ball that's deflected off the referee in the centre circle. And that's again been sort of the story of the day so far, with both sides having each other's defences cancel out. The drop ball takes place. Straight to Gymea. Stratton, Harrington, and now Hay. Hay's had to go back to Harrington. Through ball in the middle, doesn't find anyone. Dow turns it over to Ritchie, back to Dow, and Gymea can start again, but it's sent back to Josh Patch, who just hoofs it forward. There's no one there really for Gymea chasing. And it now falls to Ryan Hay and Harrington. Stratton goes back to Brown. And he can start again with Stratton down the left. But it's turned over. Pettit clears it away. But it's another ball for Joel Rutherford to chase in vain, and it is eventually turned over again. Makuak. And now Braden Moon. So once again, as has been the case for a lot of this match, both defences just cancelling each other out, and there's no real opportunities presenting themselves. Carvalho this time. Carvalho, 3 grey shirts to deal with. Does well, wins it to Ben Glennon. Glennon beats 2. There's the cross. Hey! And the first time shot well saved in the last line by Josh Patch. Ryan Hay could have done a lot better than that, perhaps on reflection when he looks at the replay later, but it was excellent work by Glennon that set up the through ball and found Hay unmarked for just a fleeting second on the edge of the 6-yard box. But Josh Patch has that Well covered. It falls to Brown as we draw towards the final 10 minutes of this grand final of regulation. And still the deadlock remains. The green option scoreboard, it's still Cronulla Seagulls 0, Gymea United 0. Blake comes across. He's been almost impenetrable in that last line of defence. As we enter the final 10 minutes right now on our unofficial timepiece. Banning has to go back. He looks up and there's nothing doing for him at the moment. So he has to go in turn back to Josh Ritchie. Carvalho. Can he come up with something? Carvalho in close quarters. Back to Ritchie. Out wide. Harrington the cross. Ball's not cleared. Hayes there. Carvalho. He may pull the trigger from there if he gets the chance. Carvalho beats a couple. Still going Carvalho. And in the end it's hacked away in the last line by Joangie. And now here's a turnover and a counter perhaps for Reece Perry to work with. Perry has to hold it up though. And the challenge is timely from Devlin to cut out that attack. Harrington. Play just starting to open up a little bit as we draw to the final 10 minutes here. Banning. But the ball is won out by Daniel Nash for Gymea, who sees it out for a throw-in. More substitutes now into play. Both coaches perhaps looking towards possibility or probability of extra time. Ben Glennon coming off for the Seagulls and Lachlan Howard back on. Dylan Tobar back on the field now for the Seagulls. And Fletcher Graham coming back for Gymea. So the throw in on the eastern side. Rutherford is there. He finds Josh Perry with the header. First time cross comes in, but Josh Old makes it his. Yes, just a reminder, 2 minutes of 10, 2 periods of 10 minutes each way. Golden goal extra time will follow if scores are level. And then if there is no breaking of the deadlock in extra time, we have penalties to decide the grand final. Carvalho, through ball, looking for Tobar, but it's well met by Josh Patch in that last line for Gymea. Pettit loses the football out towards Howard. Blake tries a spectacular clearance. It falls to Dow. Pettit took no prisoners in that challenge, and he in turn cops one for his trouble from Makiwak. Makiwak gets the yellow card, and certainly when it comes to Josh Pettit, he's been a polarising figure this afternoon. He certainly took no beg pardons and back play on Dylan Tobar that time, and at least to his credit, he got up to his feet after wearing that hip and shoulder from Makiwak that time, a hip and shoulder that was probably better off in another code, or maybe another 2 codes of football, rather than association football here. Certainly the Cronulla Seagulls supporters were happy to see Pettit go down that time. But he won the free kick, and Makiwak's name goes in the book. So Nathan Blake with the free kick for Gymea as we draw towards the last 5 or so minutes of regulation in this reserve grade grand final. Blake just pumps it forward. And there's a foul. This time against Fletcher Graham for some work. Now another substitution. And it's going to be Carl Sanzari to make his first appearance in this reserve grade grand final. In the 84th minute. And he's going to come on for Reece Perry. Maybe that's a move with extra time in mind. Headed down to Carvalho though. Carvalho leads off to Tobar. But Pettit is there. So too is Fletcher Graham, and Gymea can work it away. Josh George trying to gallop into space. But the ball is turned over again. And it goes back to Makiwak. and we can start again from that back third position. And it goes back to Josh Old, who may have some work to do in the not too distant future in between those sticks. Braden Moon, Tobar, Carvalho. Through ball looking for Hay, but it's cut out there by Jake Manning. But only falls as far as Peachy. Harrington now. Goes out wide to Howard. Braden Moon making his way forward. Moon at the cross end. Clearance not complete by Blake. First one he's missed this afternoon. Some hip and shoulder work going in there. Pettit going in body first with no compromise there. And it's forced all the way back to Josh Old. Makuak and Braden Moon. There's no foul there. No, the call eventually did come. It was a late call against Aidan Dow for that little push in the back on Dylan Tobar. So the free kick for the Seagulls. 4 minutes remaining on our unofficial timepiece, plus any stoppage time that the referee may want to add. Braden Moon to pump it forward. He doesn't have a lot of options. It's headed away comfortably by Graham. Josh George, Rutherford. Rutherford has work to do, but again, not for the first time, he's on his own. Back to Old, who just clears it away. And that in turn goes to Josh Patch, and he'll do likewise as we draw towards the last 3 minutes. Another substitution, Ben Glennon looking like he's coming back on for the Seagulls for a last fling in regulation. The ball goes out off Braden Moon in the face of Rutherford for a Gymea throw-in on this western side. And it's almost as if both the coaches are now resigned and perhaps even quite happy to go into extra time in this reserve grade grand final. And that's headed, though, down the line off Braden Moon for a corner. So here's an opportunity for Gymea in the closing stages of this reserve grade grand final with under 2.5 minutes remaining. Can Gymea pull something out of the file? Though the way they're setting up here, there's only 4 grey shirts in the middle and a couple are slowly making their way up there. They're more worried about defensive work than anything else, but they've got a corner nonetheless with Jake George. Lob forward, comes off Rutherford. First time shot is high, wide and not too handsome, I'm afraid. From Luke Ritchie, and it sails almost out into the boulevard. So Josh Old more than happy to take his time and take an extra 30 seconds. We've got 2 minutes remaining on our timepiece. There might be, given that we've had a couple of stoppages in this half for yellow cards, possibility of some stoppage time. Fletcher Graham, though, from the goal kick. He'll try a speculator from 35 yards out. It doesn't go too far over the crossbar for another goal kick. Now Banning has gone down in the centre of the park, and we might see a fair bit of this given the heat and some cramping. There's a substitution being made for the Seagulls. It's going to be Ben Glennon to come back on for the last, 90 seconds of regulation. He's going to replace the hard-working Tom Makuak. That's certainly a substitution with extra time and possibly penalties in mind. Meanwhile, Andy Banning is down in the centre of the park, so this is certainly now going to add a minute or two of stoppage time to the end of this. The referee has had a look at the watch, and Andy Banning has eventually made his way to his feet. He's not 100%, and it looks like he may come straight off here with a view towards extra time and a penalty shootout, given the heat. Yep, Banning is coming straight off the field. Jack Hughes is going to come on for the last couple of minutes of regulation to see what he can do, perhaps pull some miracle out of the fire, which is what it's now going to take, one suspects, for there to be a result in the regulation. 90. Tobar now for the Seagulls. Pettit is there, but he finds Moon in support, and back to Hughes. To Lachlan Howard, and he's done the hamstring. He's cramping up in the hamstring after getting that pass away. Harrington. Ryan Hay. Hughes is in there. Dishing out some punishment to Josh Pettit. In the meantime, Howard is down in back play. After he got rid of that long switching pass, he immediately felt for the right hamstring. And he might be done for the rest of the afternoon. He's coming straight off, and so it's going to be Brendan Devlin to come back on. I suspect it's not cramp either. I think it might be a slight twinge. And given where Lachlan Howard felt for, it's relatively high up the thigh, and he's shaking the head as he leaves the field. That will be the last we probably see of Lachlan Howard today and this season. Throw in on the eastern side though. Ryan Hay tangles with Pettit. Hughes. Carvalho. First time cross in. Not the best. Goes over the byline for a goal kick. We've played 1 minute of stoppage time at the end of this second half on our watch. There's probably going to be another minute or so left at least, given the stoppages we've had in the last 5. It's going to be Josh Patch to take the goal kick and run down the clock. Referee has another look at the watch. It's bobbing forward. Hughes is there. Hughes has Tobar in support. This is probably the absolute last throw of the dice for the Seagulls. But Jake George is there in close attendance. 2 minutes of stoppage time has been played. Blake is there to head it into the grandstand in no uncertain terms. Climbed over the top of Joangie to make that clearance. Friendly fire that time, one suspects, and Joangie has gone down. So that will add to the stoppage time, of which we've had 2 minutes now at the end of this second half. That's another 30 seconds to be added. Throw in from Braden Moon. Is there still something left? Hacked away by Adam Dow, out into the grandstand. And still we go on. Moon with the throw. Headed on by Hay. Manning is back there, and he'll allow it to be picked up by Patch. Referee has another look at the watch. And he blows full time. And so the first grand final on Grand Final Day 2023 still ends in stalemate. Both defences have cancelled each other out. Both sides have had their chances. Ryan Hay in particular at one end had a couple of chances for the Seagulls in the second half, but the defences have won out. And so our first grand final is going overtime here at Seymour Shaw on Grand Final Day 2023. The green option scoreboard at the end of 90 minutes of regulation time in the Reserve Grade Grand Final. Cronulla Seagulls 0, Gymea United 0. So shortly we now will start the 2 periods of 10 minutes each way. Golden goal extra time. And if scores are level at the end of this 20 minutes, we go to the Russian roulette. That is the penalty shootout. Just a reminder then that after this Reserve Grade Grand Final, we have still 2 more Grand Finals ahead of us. The Women's Premier League Grand Final will follow between Bosco and the Miranda Magpies, and then at 3 o'clock the big one, the First Grade Grand Final, the rematch of 2022's decider when the Cronulla Seagulls take on Como Janelli. That's all ahead of us, but for now we've got a stalemate to work out here.
for our great phalanx of sponsors, Green Options, Deploy Football and Sophie B Photography. Sophie B Photography, a proud local businesswoman since 2009. For your next photographic shoot, whether it be a more romantic or casual photographic shoot, or whether it's more formalised of a wedding or a function or a business meeting, or whether you want headshots for your company's annual report with your board of directors, with that personal local touch, look no further than Sophie B at Sophie B Photography, and maybe you can join one of the 220 businesses that have been part of the Open for Business initiative that she started in the pandemic and still continues today. www.sophieb.com.au is the website, and photo@sophieb.com.au is the best contact. Of course, we thank Green Options, the major sponsor of the SPL and the WSPL, horticulturalists, landscapers and irrigation experts without peer, multiple gold award winners at TLA level, multiple curators of the year at Sydney Premier Grade cricket level, and they look after some of Australia's premier sporting venues. HBF Park in Perth and the Central Coast Stadium at Gosford are under the watch of Green Options curators. But they can also look after your front lawn, backyard or side footpath with just as much professionalism. 1300 647 367 is the phone number, or greenoptions.com.au, the website. And of course, we are using Deploy footballs out there. You can see it out there in the middle. It's sitting in the middle of the halfway line right now. The Envision football, one of only 2 brands to have the FIFA ProMark seal of approval. It's more than just about balls at Deploy football. It's about playing kit, hoodies, sweatshirts, track pants, kit, shirts, training hurdles, shin pads, a lot more. It's never too early to start preparing for the 2024 season at Deploy Football. You can get in with a nice end of season quote right now at 1800 384 327 or at deployfootball.com. And of course, the pictures today given to you courtesy of Jum Media. Your first choice for your next live streaming sports or social event, whether it be weddings, functions or meetings. Jum Media, www.jummedia.com.au. They give you the pictures here, and they can give you the pictures for your next event. Contact us at www.jummedia.com.au. We get underway in the first period of extra time then in this Reserve Grade Grand Final. And it's going to be the Gymea United outfit running from right to left, defending the Seymour Shaw Park number 2 oval in the first period of extra time. In their grey alternate strip today with green stripe, green shorts, white socks, and of course the Cronulla Seagulls running from left to right, defending the northern or scoreboard end, the boulevard end of Seymour Shaw Park in their green and white bars, white shorts. So the goal kick will be taken by Josh Patch for Gymea United. Intended to be worked forward, but Ben Glennon is there. Pettit, Rutherford. Rutherford now tries to turn, but as has been the case for most of the day, he's been heavily marked. Fletcher Graham works his way forward, loses the ball in the centre of the park, and it's now won by Peachy towards Hughes. Hughes looks up, doesn't have many options. He's got Pettit and Rutherford, the double redhead trouble to deal with, and that's trouble at the best of times. Blake comes away to Rutherford. Rutherford tries to get through 1 and 2. But in the end, hint of a hand possibly in the last line by Makiwak, but the ball is eventually ricocheted off Peachy and out for a throw in on this broadcast side. So it's 2 periods of 10 minutes each way. First scorer wins in this extra time period. George, though, has to go all the way back to Josh Patch. And Patch goes to the reliable Nathan Blake. Pettit, and now Adam Dow. Jake George. In the end, Comes off Josh Brown and out for a Gymea United throw. Still people making their way in here to Seymour Shaw for this grand final. And if you're watching this on shirefootball.com.au or shirepremierleague.com.au and you're watching it live, you can do a lot worse than come down here. Gorgeous sunshine, gorgeous, dare I say it, early spring sunshine. Here for grand final day. Not a cloud in the sky now, and not a breath of wind, or very little, a zephyr from the north, from the northwest, if anything. Sitting right on 22 degrees right now, so it's quite warm for the players. And the forecast is good for the remainder of the day. No rain in the forecast, which is what you want on the last day, the premium day of the year. Throw in, Jake George, western side. He's got Brown again to deal with, and that's been the case for most of the day so far. Another throw in. And the start of this extra time period has just continued on the stalemate that the first 90 minutes was played in. Dow tries to get the cross in, then comes off Brown for a corner. No, I would have. Yes, it is a corner for Gymea. And so here's the opportunity for perhaps, maybe to finish the match. Pettit has made his way forward with his physical presence. Rutherford is in close attendance, and another 3 grey shirts behind him as the corner is taken. Old comes out with 2 hands, punches it away, falls to Dow. Dow the switch of play to George. Jake George gets around one and a defender, but it's just hacked away. There's no foul there. All the way back to Nathan Blake. He's quite happy to take it back to Josh Patch. Hefty clearance. Makiwak has been solid in the air all day long. Joangie now for Gymea. Once again, both sides have been very quick to set up with even 1 or 2 extra men behind the ball and the holding midfielders dropping back. Both sides have found it very hard to penetrate through the middle in this match. Joangie. Ball comes off Peachy. Hay is there, but Jake Manning is back there to clear it. And it falls initially towards Makiwak. It's hacked forward by Joangie. There's the run coming here for Dow. He gets the cross in. George is in the middle. Rutherford came too late though. But the danger is not quite cleared yet. Luke Ritchie lobs it forward, and Old does well in the face of fire from Jake George and Luke Rutherford. He wins the foul as well. He managed to take the ball in 2 hands, Josh Old. But he was certainly heavily attended. More substitutions now coming in for both sides. Trying to take the most of the numbers they've got available. It's Daniel Wall coming on now for Gymea. And Jordan Harrington back on the field for the Seagulls for probably the remainder of this extra time period, however long it may be. Headed down by Joangie. Pettit is there. Can't keep the ball in play though. It goes out for a Cronulla Seagulls throw. So once again, chances at a premium in this extra time period. Pettit comes out with his presence and clears it very quickly. Concedes the throw. He's there again to meet the ball. George. Brown is there. Hay comes in. A lot of get stuck in football here. Cavallo. Ryan Hay tries to bring it forward. First time pass looking for Hay on the shot. Gets it away, but in the end, falls fairly harmlessly to Josh Patchen. Now he pulls up with a cramp, does Ryan Hay. 7 minutes of the first 10 gone already in extra time. Very shortly we'll turn around for the final 10. Carvalho.
There's the ball for Harrington. Harrington with the shot, not too far over the top. So Harrington more than happy to work his way forward. And another substitution, Josh Pettit has worked himself into the ground now, coming off. And it's going to be Daniel Nash to come on. Ryan Hay leaves the field. And Andrew Banning, after that knock he took in the late stages of regulation, now back on the field for the closing stages of the first period of extra time. Headed forward by Ritchie. First time through ball from Daniel Walmore, a shot in hope than anything else. Falls to Josh Old. Carvalho loses out. This time Nash tries to find Rutherford. Rutherford almost gets away. No foul there. Ritchie pleading for the foul. Foul came in that time though by Carl Sanzari. Referee didn't miss that one. So the free kick goes to the Seagulls. In the meantime, Rutherford goes down. Still in back play after feeling the challenge, which did not bring a foul. So the referee is over to him and he has a few words to say. Joel Rutherford is helped to his feet by the referee. And he's happy to continue, given that we are very close to the end of the first period of extra time. We're inside the final minute. In fact, Joel Rutherford is making his way off the field. Feeling the sternum area a little bit and the left arm, the left shoulder, in fact, he went to the ground heavily. And it's going to be Reece Perry back on for probably no more than the 1 minute we have left. Clearance finds Fletcher Graham. Turns it away now towards Nash. Joangie can't keep the ball in play. Goes out for a Cronulla Seagulls throw. We're just about at the end of the first 10 minutes of extra time. There may be a minute of stoppages added. Carvalho can't keep the ball in play. It's a Gymea United throw. Ritchie. And now Perry. Fletcher Graham bursting his way through the middle. Ben Glennon concedes the foul and his name will go in the book for that challenge on Fletcher Graham. So here's an opportunity right at the end of the first period of extra time for Gymea to perhaps deliver the killer blow. They've got a free kick, let's just say about 27 metres out. Nathan Blake will be more than happy to just drive it forward and try his luck from this distance. Although they're lining up possibly for a set piece to the right. We're playing stoppage time at the end of the first period of golden goal extra time. Blake with the free kick. Old comes out, punches away in two hands. In the meantime, the shot comes in from Perry. Players are down, one of each side in the Cronulla Seagulls box, though, however. And so, one player from each side. Fletcher Graham has gone down, as has Josh Brown. They both felt the clatter of Josh Old coming in over the top from that set piece. In the meantime, one of the Gymea United coaches quite vociferous with the fourth official about something that went on in back play, perhaps about the general run of free kicks that Gymea feel are going against them. So it's going to be a free kick then for the Seagulls. In the meantime, we have a substitution. Fletcher Graham looks like is coming off at the end of the first period of extra time. There's been no substitution yet. It's probably just the protocol, the head knock protocol for Graham to go off and get looked at and then be officially given the all clear to go back on. So a drop ball ensues and it falls to the Seagulls. Fletcher Graham has gone through the protocol and he makes his way back on the field, so we have 11 on 11 again. Harrington. And there is the whistle for the end of the first period of extra time. And it's as you were. We played 2 minutes of stoppage time at the end of that first period. And the more this goes on, the more it looks like we are headed towards the inevitable Russian roulette of the penalty shootout. Half time in extra time in the Reserve Grade Grand Final. It is still scoreless on the green option scoreboard in this Reserve Grade Grand Final. Still Cronulla Seagulls 0, Gymea United 0. So both sides trying to get a quick drink in, but under the regulations it's supposed to be a straight turnaround for the final 10. And so both sides quickly hurried back out onto the field. Interesting that Brendan Devlin has made his way back onto the field for this second period of extra time, and perhaps now the coaches may start looking towards substitutions with the penalty shootout in mind to get the best penalty takers in their squads on the park at the end of the 110 minutes. We'll soon know. It'll be the Cronulla Seagulls to kick off the second period of golden goal extra time. They're running from right to left in their green and white bars, white shorts. Gymea in their away strip running from left to right, defending the northern or scoreboard end in the final 10 minutes of this match that are available in their away strip of grey, green stripe, green shorts, white socks. Still scoreless in this Reserve Grade Grand Final. Stretton now. Nice through ball in the middle looking for Danning, but it's well cut out by Fletcher Graham. Carvalho beaten to the punch, but it falls to Luke Ritchie for Gymea. And Joangie can start something again. Although the heat has now become a factor, no doubt, in this grand final. No ruling of the hand. No, the referee was waiting for advantage. He's penalised Joangie for a handball. The ball did reach out on a reflex and did strike the arm. And so under the rules, it's a fair decision. So it's a free kick for the Seagulls in a fairly attacking position at the start of this second period of extra time. 5 green and white shirts, 6 of them in the middle now. Free kick from Harrington. That goes over everyone's head, including Josh Patch, who's gone down. The ball beat everyone over the byline for the goal kick, and that's pretty much the first real danger that Josh Patch has been in for perhaps an hour now. But that was a well pinpointed free kick from Josh Brown, and that beat everyone, including Josh Patch, and he'll need to get to his feet quickly because in about 10 minutes' time he may have the fate of this reserve grade title in his hands alongside Josh Old. Free kick was given though. It's taken quickly. It's worked forward though for the Seagulls by Caleb Russell, who was the interesting injection into the play for the closing stages of extra time in this reserve grade grand final. He'd be expected to play a major part in the main decider later. Here's Rutherford now for Gymea. There's some space opening up. The 1-2 looking for Rutherford, but it's cut out in the last line by Carvalho and Peachy in the last line. Here's Carvalho here. Copped one for his trouble, according to the Seagulls supporters, and eventually it goes out over this western touchline for a throw in. Don't forget, women's grand final will immediately follow now. Bosco versus the Miranda Magpies, and then the big one at 3 o'clock. The first grade grand final. Como Ginelli taking on the Cronulla Seagulls in the big one. Throw in on this western side then. substitutions have been made as well. Adam Dow coming on the field for one last fling at the end of this extra time. Rutherford is there, who's worked his tail off for most of this match. A pass, the back pass goes all the way back towards Josh Old. It almost appears now that both sides are quite happy to run down this clock and take their chances in the penalty shootout. Old then with the goal kick. Rutherford there in attendance, so too is Stratton. Rutherford has Carvalho to deal with. A bit of a nudge on Rutherford by Carvalho as the ball went over the sideline. It's been a frustrating afternoon for forwards in this reserve grade grand final so far. Fletcher Graham and Joangie has Carvalho to deal with. It goes all the way back to Josh Ritchie, who's quite happy to see the ball over the byline for the goal kick. We approach the 5-minute mark of the second period of extra time. So 5 minutes maximum remaining on the field before we roll the dice for a penalty shootout. Goal kick. Carvalho, Ryan Hay. There's nothing doing there. It goes all the way back towards Josh Old, who's quite happy to clear it away. But that's going to be almost ping-pong-like to Josh Patch, who did well to handle the ball and then lose it outside the 18-yard box. The referee lets the play go on. Devlin's there, and Devlin hacks it out. Not the first defender to hack it out in this reserve grade grand final. Well, Josh Patch that time seemed to have the ball comfortably under control and then lost the handle of it right on the edge of the D. Put the hearts in the mouths of both sets of supporters as the ball goes out off of Reece Perry for a Gymea throw. Hacked away, but the danger not cleared. Falls to Cavallo. Gets another opportunity. Fabio Cavallo. Ball's turned over now. Ritchie tries the ranging cross for Jake George. Jake George tries to then lob one forward. Keeper comes out, then goes back. George cops one for his trouble. Perry the shot. Oh, great save by Josh Old. Great save by Josh Old. That was the grand final right there. First time shot Luke Ritchie. Best shot hit in the first 115 minutes of this contest. But Old came out after being hesitant initially, made a superb save. Here's the corner. Old comes out again with one fist this time to punch it away. And it's cleared out by Devlin for safety. Well, Josh Old is certainly, if he's not awake for a possible penalty shootout, he's certainly awake now. Reflexes are well and truly ready to go. We are 3 minutes away from that penalty shootout. That's how long there is left in this second period of goal. Throw in on the eastern side. Go taken by Dow, but it's headed away. And it's back to as you were. Both sides just cancelling each other out. Carvalho, Ryan Hay now in the centre. But Ritchie takes no chances, just hacks it away. Carvalho and Ryan Hay now again. Hay perhaps took too long to get rid of that pass, and Fletcher Graham cut it out. Graham down the right with Stratton, but the challenge is timely from Josh Ritchie for a throw in. So Gymea United with 2 minutes remaining in this second period of extra time plus stoppages, seemingly finishing the stronger in this heat. Reece Perry gets the cross in. It's headed away comfortably by Ben Glennon. Cavallo with the skills wins it out and wins a throw as well. as that last one came off Daniel Nash. Stretton with the throw then. Hay. Luke Ritchie. Perry. Cavallo is there. Wins out with Hay. Banning. Caleb Russell, can he find a through ball? Patch has to come out a long way and does so. Times his presence right on the edge of his 18-yard area, almost to perfection. Inside the final 2 minutes of extra time, the long clearance finds Reece Perry. He's got 2 grey shirts to work with in the middle. Does well to keep it in. Ritchie with the cross. Glennon with the header away. Secondary header away by Ritchie. Another cross comes in from Rutherford. And in the end, Banning has to clear the lines. Blake comes out before acceptances and concedes the free kick. We're inside the final minute now of extra time, plus any stoppages. Ben Glennon with the free kick has to pump it forward. He's got no choice, but he goes short and wide to Josh Brown. Harrington does well to keep the ball in play. The Gymea defence has marshalled itself and compacted nicely now in the 110th minute, as it did in the first. Long ball looking for Stretton, but it's headed away by Joangie. Carvalho, though. Carvalho dealing with Nash, but it falls as far as Josh Ritchie, and the referee blows the final whistle, and the first grand final of Grand Final Day 2023 is headed to the Russian roulette. That is the penalty shootout. Both sides cancelling each other out. Both sides had opportunities right up to that last minute desperate save from Josh Old from the Josh Ritchie shot. But in the end, the green option scoreboard at the end of the reserve grade grand final after extra time tells us that it is a stalemate. It is finished after 110 minutes. Cronulla Seagulls 0, Gymea United 0. Penalties will decide the reserve grade title in 2023 at the end of this grand final. We do it all, of course, for our great friends, Green Options, Deploy Football, and Sophie B Photography. So, quick toss of the coin in the centre. And it looks like we're going to be going to the scoreboard end for this penalty shootout. That's where the penalties will take place, and now it's just down to luck. It just comes down to who can hold their nerve from that 11-metre spot that dots itself in front of the goal mouth at the end where the penalties are taken. And given the way that this match was played for most of its 110 minutes, it may very well have been played for another 110 minutes without a breakdown of the deadlock. So for a grand final that is to be played to a result to decide a winner, Association Football's penalty shootout, which other codes have tried to copy but has not quite mastered, is the prescribed method. So it will be the standard FIFA penalty shootout rules of play, 5 penalties each. And then if there is no winner at the end of the first 5 penalties each, it's then sudden death to decide the title until someone misses or someone saves. And we are going to the northern end. We are going to the scoreboard end, the boulevard end of Seymour Shaw Park for this penalty shootout. Some say it's a cruel way to finish, but it does have its own drama. It does have its own excitement. It's its own contest. And quite frankly, it might not be the last penalty shootout we see today. Of course, as we look at the time, it is now well and truly past start time for the Women's Grand Final. That was due to start 11 minutes ago. So it will be straight out into the Women's Grand Final at the end of this penalty shootout and presentation. So it's going to be the Cronulla Seagulls to go first. They won the toss And they decided to have the first penalty. And that is an advantage in the start of any penalty shootout. It's going to be Josh Ritchie who will be first up to take his place and have his shot against Josh Patch. So it's Patch facing Ritchie, first up. And back on halfway, as is now the customary case, both sides have lined up, almost arm in arm. Certainly they've lined up alongside each other to see this penalty shootout play itself out. So here it is, Josh Ritchie, the first penalty. And it's saved! Immediately saved by Josh Patch. It looked to be a tired penalty, almost telegraphed to the left. Patch read it like a book. And so the advantage goes to Gymea immediately. But in saying that, the first penalty has to be converted. And it is going to be the indomitable figure of Nathan Blake to step up and take Gymea United's first penalty. To take on Josh Old, who pulled off a remarkable save late in extra time from the Luke Ritchie shot. He's got work to do here. It's Nathan Blake with the first Gymea penalty in the shootout. This to give Gymea the early advantage. It's Blake on Old. And Blake tucks it away. No problem at all. Sent Old the wrong way. And so Gymea get the early advantage in the shootout. 1-0. So immediately the pressure now goes back onto the classy Fabio Carvalho to take the second Cronulla Seagulls penalty. This is almost a must convert at this stage. If the Seagulls were to go 2-0 down here, it would almost be curtains. So it's Carvalho on Josh Patch. Carvalho takes it and slots it away, but Patch guessed the right way. You could almost have heard a pin drop when Carvalho went in to take that penalty. But in the end, Carvalho tucked it away. And so we are level at 1 apiece. But the Seagulls have taken 1 penalty from 2. And it's going to be Luke Ritchie to take the second Gymea penalty. To take on Josh Old. It's rather remarkable that you can hear a pin drop just as Ritchie comes in to take it. And in the end, he went straight up the middle. And sometimes going straight up the middle is the best way to go. He sent Old the wrong way. So it's Gymea 2, Cronulla 1 in the shootout. So now the pressure goes back onto Caleb Russell, who saw only about 14 minutes of total game time. He's expected to take a decent part in the first grade grand final later today, but he's got a penalty right now to take. The dummy, and he puts it away. The shimmy, and he keeps the Seagulls in the contest. 2 penalties each, but Gymea have the advantage. They are 2 from 2. Seagulls 2 from 3. So now it's Jake Manning, the solid defender for Gymea, to take Gymea United's 3rd penalty. Manning then. And, well, he got a hand to it, did Old. And he didn't realise he got a hand to it. And it crept under the outstretched right hand and ricocheted into the back of the net. A sigh of relief for Jake Manning, and Gymea go 3 for 3 in the shootout. And now the pressure goes on to Andy Banning. He's got to convert this, otherwise it will open the door for a decisive penalty next up. Andy Banning must convert this in the face of Josh Patch. And it's saved by Patch. 2 saves by Josh Patch. And now they can smell it, they can touch it, Gymea. They're 1 penalty away from the title. And to be fair, 2 poorly taken penalties have seen 2 saves. Andy Banning that time was read well by Josh Patch. And so now it's Luke Rutherford. This to win the reserve grade title. If he can put this penalty away and finish the first grand final of the afternoon. He's worked his backside off all day in the setup. And now he has it on his left peg. Here is Joel Rutherford, this to win the reserve grade title, to win the reserve grade grand final. On old Rutherford, tucks it away, and there it is. Josh Rutherford is delighted, and why not? Gymea United, the underdogs, who finished 8 points behind the Cronulla Seagulls at the end of the regular season, were beaten in the major semi-final, but always fancied themselves to be the one to upset the minor premiers in the big one, and so it's turned out. It was a tightly contested stalemate for 110 minutes, and in the end, Gymea held their nerve in the shootout with 4 perfect penalties from 4 to win the penalty shootout 4-2. The final score in the SPL Reserve Grade Grand Final, a triumph for Gymea United. The perfect end of the season for the Cronulla Seagulls has been ripped out. The last page has been ripped out on the back of their 3 State Cup wins. They were hoping to win both Reserve Grade and First Grade this afternoon. That's not going to happen now. The final score in the Reserve Grade Grand Final for Green Options, after 110 minutes, it finished Cronulla Seagulls 0, Gymea United 0. Gymea United win the penalty shootout, 4 penalties to 2. Gymea are the Reserve Grade champions. What a tremendous end to the first grand final. Shortly, there'll be a presentation ceremony downstairs, and in the next 10 to 15 minutes, the women's grand final will commence between Bosco and the Miranda Magpies, as our live streaming coverage of Grand Final Day 2023 continues here at shirefootball.com.au and shirepremierleague.com.au.
Well, congratulations to both teams. Great game of football. Well done, Gymea, on the win. And commiserations to Seagulls. I'll just get the presentation underway. First of all, I'd like to invite our match officials to come out and receive their medallions. I've got referee Dean Ward. There is a Player of the Match Award, which is sponsored by Deploy. That's going to be presented by Jim Hankton. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the international headquarters of Deploy Group, today's Player of the Match goes to Nathan Blake. Do we want to speak? We're over time. Thank you, Jim. Now, I'd like to invite Seagulls to come up and get their captain to say a few words and then introduce the team to the runners-up medal. Getting sick of this every year. Second, it's really annoying me. But right here, it was a two clearest teams in the comp this year. We're always good battles. Been a goal in it every time we played, and can't believe we managed to give you the best goalkeeper on the day, and he just pulled one out of his butt, and, you know. But no, you guys are just, as we've grown and close, we're all a bit closer, we're all a bit nice to each other. It's not as feral as it used to be. Yeah, he doesn't pick me up out my leg anymore, so. Apart from that, boys, well done, congrats, enjoy the beers. My boys, we're alright, we're not a bad team, we'll get there, we'll be here again next year, and hopefully I'm saying the second speech, not the first one. And, you know, let's cheer on our first graders this afternoon. Thanks to the association, thanks to the referees, and that's that. Thank you. 20, up he comes. Nicolia. Ryan Hayes, we managed to drag out into the League 7 finally. He's probably been our best player all year. Josh Ritchie. Josh Ord. Outstanding day today, mate. We're just unlucky. JB. Epson. Andy. Lars. Fucking Howard. Billy. Adro. Yuki. I missed anyone? Well done again, Gandhi. Okay, congratulations to Seagulls. If I'm going to ask someone from Gymea to come up and say a few words and introduce the team.
Firstly, well done to the Seagulls. It's all year. Tough way to lose. I'll get heads up. Been the best team all year. Yeah, well done. Now boys, you did it. Take it a few, but you got there. Proud of you all. Nice playing with you all. Yeah, well done. That was the beer. Celebrate. Thanks everyone for coming and watching. Yeah, thank you, man. Big crowd. So yeah, thank you. Great day. Peter Fraser. Ed, you can walk. Yowie. Big Red, Joshie. Okay, good boy, come on. Elsie. Okay. Danny Wall, up the back. Luke Mickey. Ricky. Harry. Luca. Eddie. Man of that. Nike, come on. You're over there. Kyle. Jesse.
Bob Beatty. Lovely time. Alright. Julian. Okay, good. Thanks, guys. Okay, thanks very much, guys. There's one more thing to do, and it's to, on behalf of the Sutherlandshire Football Association and our major sponsors, Green Options, premiers of the Reserve Grade Men's for 2023, Gymea. Well done, guys.